Hello class! The new support for the Lyrilusc archetype has finally been revealed. I'm so excited for this! I love Lyrilusc. They're basically baby harpies. Be sure to let me know your opinions on these cards as well in the comment section below. The first card revealed is a card called Lyrilusc Beryl Canary. It is a level 1 winged attribute winged beast type effect monster with 0 attack and 200 defense. This card has 2 effects, but you're only allowed to use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. The first effect is, if this card is in your hand, you can target 1 Lyrilusc monster in your graveyard. Special summon this card and target, but you cannot special summon monsters from the deck for the rest of this turn, except XZ monsters. I'm pretty happy with this effect because it gives you more ways to swarm your field with Lyrilusc monsters, and they're already pretty good at that. You usually seem to have Lyrilusc monsters in your graveyard because you'll be detaching them as XZ materials, so I think this card will be stronger the later in the duel you are. The extra deck restriction of XZ monsters for the rest of the turn might put some people off because Lyrilusc are getting played a lot just now in a linked deck called Tribrigade, but it only says you're restricted for the rest of your turn, not the whole turn, so just make sure you've summoned all of your other extra deck monsters you want before using this card's effect. This point applies to pure builds of Lyrilusc as well because they do have a fusion monster. The second effect of this card is a wind exceeding monster that was summoned using this card on the field as material gains this effect. Gains 200 attack, also possession cannot switch. Although this might be niche in most situations, it's nice protection for your exceeding monsters in case you run into cards like Crackdown or Beryl or Dragon. Also, because you are not restricted to how many times you can activate the second effect, the attack increase can stack, giving you at most a 600 attack increase instead of just 200. Not exactly anything to write home about, but at least your XZ monster can get a little stronger if you only have the choice of using multiple copies of this card. Pro can help swarm potential. Can special summon your Lyrilusc monster in your graveyard. Attack increase, which could help your XZ monsters. Con restricts you to only summoning XZ monsters from your extra deck. Attack increase is pretty small. The second revealed card is a card called Lyrilusc Celeste Wagtail. It is a level 1 winged attribute winged beast type effect monster with 200 attack and 0 defense. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn each. The first effect is, if this card is special summoned, you can add 1 Lyrilusc spell trap from your deck to your hand. Before this batch of new cards, Lyrilusc didn't have any spells or traps, so spoilers! I'll be discussing their spell and trap later. Even if, hypothetically, the revealed spell and trap are bad, this is still a good effect for a monster to have for their deck because it could potentially be even better in years to come if the deck gets more support in the future. The second effect is, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target 1 Lyrilusc exceeding monster you control, attach this card to it as material. This is great for your Lyrilusc exceeding monsters because XZ monsters like XZ materials obviously, but Lyrilusc especially do, considering Recital Starling can grant an attack and defense boost to a monster based on how many materials it has, and Assembled Nightingale can attack a number of times based on the amount of materials it has. Also, more spoilers, they have new XZ monsters too. Pro! Archetype Spell and Trap Searcher can basically count as 2 materials if you activate one of your XZ monster's effects to detach her, and then you can reattach her. Easy activation requirements. Con. Effects can't be granted on normal summon. The next revealed card is a card called Lyrilusc Ensemblue Robin. It is a rank 1 winged attribute winged beast type effect monster with 0 attack and 0 defense. Her materials are 2 or more level 1 monsters. The materials are the same as the previously revealed Lyrilusc XZ monsters, and that's definitely a good thing because like I said before, Lyrilusc XZ monsters love having as many XZ materials as they can get, so it's nice to be able to use 5 level 1 Lyrilusc monsters already on your field if that's what you wanted to do. Now, something pretty surprising about this card, especially in a 2021 Yugioh card, this card has 3 effects and neither of them are once per turn. The first effect is, gains 500 attack for each material attached to it. Basically, the more level 1 monsters you use, the stronger this card will be. So at minimum, this card will have 1000 attack, but this could potentially go up to 2500 and higher if you use copies of Beryl Canary as material. The second effect is, if your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, you can detach 1 material from this card, then target one of those monsters, return it to the hand. This effect is making me think you want to get as many materials on this card as possible. Being able to do this once could be devastating enough for your opponent, but you can do this as many times as this card has materials. Only downside is the more exceeding materials you detach, the weaker this card gets. The third effect is, if this card in your possession is sent to your graveyard by an opponent's card, you can target one other Lyrilusc monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. I thought this card was strong enough already, but it is nice that this effect is there, so it could potentially help you make a replacement copy of this card during your next turn. It cannot recover itself, but if a second copy of this card is sent to the graveyard while your first copy is still there, it can recover that. Pro can get pretty strong. Amazing effect that isn't even limited to once per turn. Can help set up for your next turn. Can recover another copy of itself if that card is in the graveyard. Not limited to once per turn. The last Lyrilusc monster revealed so far is a card called Lyrilusc Prom Thrush. It is a rank 1 wind attribute winged beast effect monster with 0 attack and 0 defense. The materials for this card are the same as the other Lyrilusc existing monsters, 2 or more level 1 monsters. This card also has 3 effects, and they are also not limited to once per turn. The first effect is, gains 500 attack for each material attached to it. Same first effect as Ensemblue Robin. The second effect is, once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, then target one spell trap your opponent controls, shovel it into the deck. This could potentially help with your OTK potential, as you can detach these materials to hopefully clear your opponent's back row. Another good thing is that it doesn't destroy those cards, it shuffles them into the deck, meaning you won't accidentally trigger some graveyard effects that you don't want to. You're also not limited to whether or not the spell or trap your opponent controls is face up or face down. The third effect is, at the start of the damage step, if another of your monsters battles, you can detach any number of materials from this card. Your battling monster gains 300 attack for each material detached until the end of this turn. This might not seem all that helpful, but it could potentially win you the duel in some cases, as you can attack with this card first and deal some damage, and then detach all the materials from this card and select Assemble Nightingale, who would not only gain the 300 attack for each material, but whatever increase Nightingale receives from this card will effectively be multiplied by how many materials Nightingale has, considering she can attack a number of times based on how many materials she has. This effect is also not limited to Lyrilusc monsters and can be activated during your opponent's battle phase too, so it can act as a bit of protection as well. Pro can get pretty strong. Can clear any potential back row dangers. Shuffles into deck rather than destroys. Not restricted to face up or face down, can be either. Can potentially win you the duel. Not limited to Lyrilusc monsters. Can be activated during both yours and your opponent's turn. Not limited to once per turn. As I previously mentioned, one of the revealed cards for Lyrilusc was a spell card. It is a continuous spell card called Lyrilusc Bird Sanctuary. You can only use the first and second effects of this card name once per turn each. The first effect is, you can target 2 winged beast exceeding monsters you control, attach one of them and all material attached to it to the other as material. This could be pretty insane in some situations and could help tidy up some other situations you might be in. For example, having Prom Thrush on the field with multiple materials, but your opponent has no back row. I'm not particularly sure about the wording of this card if both the XYZ monsters need to have at least one material to be able to activate this effect or not, but I don't think you do. It can be a nice card to help one of your Lyrilusc monsters that has barely got any materials, or you could try stacking all materials to make a super ultra mega Lyrilusc monster. The second effect is, if you control an XYZ monster with 3 or more material, you can draw 1 card. I like this because 9 out of 10 times this effect should be like a free draw, and who doesn't make basically a free draw every turn? Beryl can be pretty versatile. Only limited to winged beast type XYZ monsters, not limited to Lyrilusc monsters, and not even limited to rank 1 XYZ monsters. Can help make a powerhouse of a Lyrilusc monster. Easy activation requirement. The final card revealed is a normal trap card called Lyrilusc, Birds of a Feather. This card has 2 effects, and you can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn each. The first effect is, target 1 Lyrilusc monster you control. Change the attack of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls to the targets. Also, their levels and ranks become 1. It's kind of weird in some cases because it could be amazing sometimes, but not as good in other situations. If you only have one superpowered Lyrilusc monster with, for example, 4000 attack, all of your opponent's monsters will also get 4000 attack. But if you have a Lyrilusc monster with 0 materials or any of the main deck monsters, you can make your opponent's monsters' attacks be tiny. To be honest, my opponent's attack has never really bothered me when I play Lyrilusc because I tend to make Assembled Nightingale and attack directly, so it doesn't matter if my opponent has 10,000 attack if I'm attacking directly. I should also note that this effect doesn't go away at the end of the turn or anything. It stays. The main thing I'm looking at in this effect is it changes all of your opponent's monsters' levels and ranks to 1. This could be pretty damaging to some of your opponent's plans because they might not be able to make certain XYZ monsters they were wanting or won't be able to summon a strong Synchro monster. The second effect is, when an opponent's monster declares an attack on your Lyrilusc monster, you can banish this card from your GUI. Your battling monster's attack becomes the same as that opponent's monster's until the end of this turn. This is basically making it so both monsters are destroyed in the battle and you will not take any battle damage, assuming your monster is in attack mode. Could be good for cards like Ensemblue Robin, who gains an effect when she is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card. Pro: can turn all of your opponent's monsters into non-threats for the battle phase. Is a permanent effect, not just until the end phase. Can interrupt some plans your opponents may have with your extra deck. Can protect you from potentially a lot of battle damage. Con: can potentially make your opponent's monsters very strong. Battle will usually result in a stalemate, rather than your monster surviving the battle. I hope you all enjoyed my opinions on these cards. I'm really looking forward to trying these out, so let's see it in action. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you found it informative and enjoyable, and please let me know what you thought in the comment section below. Class dismissed.